Okay, so Terry, in the middle of your screen, hit got it. And that'll go away. That just now we're being, I always put us up on Facebook a little bit early to kind of let people find us.
Not a problem.
So this is on our public Life Quest of Arkansas Facebook page. If you want to go to it, you can share from there, or we can send it to you.
Okay.
I'll see a couple people joining us on Zoom. And on Facebook. The nice thing about virtual classes is that you can come in at the last minute and you don't have to worry about finding a place to park.
The other nice thing about it is you can't see that I need some polish on my nails.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Let's not tell anybody. Well, that's the tornado siren, which is my cue that we are time to begin our Wednesday noon guest speaker hour. Today we have a special guest, Terri Hollingsworth. Hello.
Hello there. How is everybody?
Terri, I'm going to read a little bit about Terri because I wanted everybody to know. Oh, let me admit a few more people coming in and give them time to get settled. Thank you folks for coming in. This is Terri Hollingsworth. She is Pulaski County Circuit and County Clerk. Oh, I'm still admitting people. There she is. Terri was elected on November 6, 2018 to a 4-year term. She's about to start another one. She was just filling me in about that. She received, this is so impressive, the most votes of any candidate on the ballot in Pulaski County when she was running. She was sworn in 2019 at the very first of the year as the first African-American woman elected to a Pulaski County-wide executive position, which is just wonderful, but also horrifying that at the same time, you know, that it was so late in our history.
Exactly.
That really surprised me. She has worked in management positions in both the public and private sectors in nonprofit organizations and has served on all levels of government, began her career working for the city of Little Rock as a city planner and later as the city's economic development administrator. Ms. Hollingsworth worked for Arkansas Secretary of State and was director of the State Board of Election Commissioners. Well, that fully qualifies you in all ways. She is a graduate of Howard University, earned her MBA from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I knew you when you were PTA president at Central.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is probably the most impressive position on here outside of what you're currently doing. So welcome to Life Quest. I'm so glad that you're with us today, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, thank you so much. And hello to everyone. And thank you for inviting me to speak to Life Quest today. I'm certainly interested in making sure that all citizens in Pulaski County know about the new voting laws. And also if they have questions about, voting, and if they got their, of course, voter registration card in the mail, then I, certainly want to make sure I answer any questions about that as well. So I'll go ahead and begin. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the clerk's office. I'm not sure if you all are aware that I am your county clerk and your circuit clerk. So I wear a lot of hats. I'm your voter registrar for the county. I'm the chief election official for the county. I'm your real estate recorder for the county, and I'm the clerk for the quorum court. And then my staff supports about 17 circuit judges. So we have about 95 employees. So I guess if you really just want to give us a title, or the clerk is the recorder for the county. So we record, is the keeper of the records, I guess. So we record all documents and that kind of thing. So definitely it's been a pleasure to serve this first term, and looking forward to the next term. I'm running unopposed, so that's how I know that I'm going to have another term already. So I'm definitely thankful to the people of Pulaski County who voted for me in 2018 and who supported me throughout this term. They scared the folks off, so nobody wanted to run against me, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
That's great.
All right, so today I want to talk to you a little bit. Let me see if I can get this going. Just want to talk to you a little bit about the laws that have changed and how they impact you all. Maybe a bit about understanding provisional ballots, just in case you go in person and have to use a provisional ballot. And then redistricting as it relates to your voter registration card, and also some election dates to remember. And then, of course, any questions that you all want to ask, I'll be happy to answer those. We can do that throughout the presentation, however you want to do it, or at the end. So in 2021, the legislative session had about 25 new election laws that were passed and now in effect. So there are a few that affect my office, and a few that affect you, the voter, and of course, some that of course affect the Election Commission as well. Let's start with the fact that, so in March of 18 of this year, Pulaski County Circuit Judge Wendell Griffin ruled that all 4 of the laws that impact you, the voter, were unconstitutional because they placed an undue burden on voters. And then, of course, by April 1st, the Arkansas Supreme Court overruled that particular ruling and allowed the 4 controversial laws to go back into effect. So we are dealing with those particular controversial laws now. So Act 249 requires voters, of course, to present their photo ID and appropriate documentation when they go and vote. It used to be when you went to vote, if you didn't take your ID with you, you could actually sign an affidavit that affirmed that you were who you said you were. And the legislators took that particular affirmation away. So you have to take your driver's license or a state issued ID, or if you have a concealed carry ID because it has your picture on it, you can actually take that because that's something that's issued by the state of Arkansas. So voters who cast ballots in person and don't provide an ID, then they will possibly be able to their ballot be considered a provisional ballot, because then they will have to come to either the clerk's office or the election commission to present their ID at least by Monday after the election, so that their vote will be counted. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But here are the eligible photo ID options. Of course, as I said, Arkansas state issued driver's license and Arkansas state issued ID card if you don't drive, and Arkansas state concealed handgun carry permit, your passport. If you have an employee badge from someplace like UAMS or UA Little Rock or UA Pulaski Tech, you can certainly use that. If you have a public assistance identification card, you can use that as well. And if someone doesn't have an ID, they can come to the clerk's office and we can actually issue a voter verification card, which means we can take a picture of them and it's free of charge. But the only thing about it, if they come to our office and need that particular ID, they have to show a bill from that, the residence where they say they're living. And they have to show like a birth certificate or something, so that we can basically say that they are who they are and sign off on it and give them that particular ID. Any questions so far?
I don't see any so far.
Okay. So Act 728, of course, is another act that we're concerned about because it bars people from entering or remaining in that area that's within 100 feet of the entrance of the voting site. So if you're looking at the picture here, you can see where the door is, and it kind of says 501 up there at the top, and then the folks are in line. Well, once you go in to vote and you come out, you can't be out there, don't linger too long to talk to people or hug people, because this law is basically saying that you are maybe trying to do something that to defraud the actual election. And you don't want to be, you don't want that to be, you don't want to be considered that. You don't want anybody to try to arrest you for that. You don't want anybody to try to tell on you for that. So that could be a problem if you're just, standing there talking to people as they're in line. The other thing, so the next act is 736. And so there's 3 provisions that, of course, impact the individual voter. And one is that it requires the signature on the absentee ballots to be verified by checking the voter's registration. So I don't know about you all, but my signature has changed in the last 4 years. So I know that when I signed up as a voter to sign up to register to vote when I was 18, my signature has definitely changed from when I was that age. And a lot of people haven't updated their registration, probably because they haven't moved or haven't had a reason to actually update it. So to me, this is something that really affects those persons who probably don't get out quite a bit, persons who might have some kind of new disability that we don't know about. And so it's very, to me, it's very like a voter suppression kind of thing as it relates to especially folks who are older Americans. And I'm one of them, because I'm 58 years old. And so I feel like I'm an older American too, and my signature has changed. But folks somebody might have broken their arm and have to write with the next one, then their signature has changed. But what I have to do as the clerk is I have to look at your voter registration application and your absentee ballot application. So I think you all remember when you go in to vote that you actually sign a poll book, and you've been signing that poll book for the last however many years you've been voting. But that is not what I can look at least. I cannot look at the poll book. I can only look at your absentee ballot application and the voter registration. So that to me is very impactful and really harms a lot of our Americans who want to vote by absentee. Fortunately, we haven't had as many requests for absentee this year as we did, of course, in 2020. In 2020, we had almost 30,000 requests for absentee voting. So this year is definitely down from that. So the other thing is that it requires that the voters provide both a mailing address and a residential address within their absentee application. So this is if you're going to vote by absentee, you got to make sure that you put your mailing address and your residential voting address. Some people get their mail, at a PO box or something like that. And we want to make sure that that ballot actually gets where it needs to go. The other thing is that if you have a neighbor, or if you want to help a neighbor, and you cannot have more than 4 absentee ballots in your possession, they're saying that would be an intent to defraud the election. And so you got to be careful if you're going to bring those to the clerk's office. Definitely, you don't need more than 4 in your possession. If you're going to take them to the mailbox, you might want to be careful, because you don't know if somebody's going to tell on you if you have more than 4 in your possession, as you're trying to help maybe some folks who are at your church, or maybe even somebody in your neighborhood, or that kind of thing. So those things, it used to be that you can take 10, but now they've changed it to 4. Okay, next thing. So just wanted you to see my signature in terms of, I was telling you, in terms of the comparison. Here's my signature in 2018, and then there's my signature in 2012. So they're kind of similar, but they don't actually match. So that could be a problem if I'm trying to vote by absentee.
This signature thing, I'm gonna step in, this is Leah, that really does concern me. Working with older adults who have arthritis or other issues, I have definitely seen changes in signature just in the time that I've been at LifeQuest from some of our members who I know well, but it is an age-related, not necessarily a disability, it just happens. That really does concern me, working with this demographic.
Yes, and that's why it concerns me because of the demographic that you're talking about. But I also have a cousin who is, let's see, I think he's 51 now, 52, but he had brain surgery a couple of years ago and hasn't
Oh,
fully recovered.
yeah.
So he's not able to use his right hand, which is he was right-handed. And now the left hand, I mean, he hardly writes anything. So, you have things like that. Like I said, people have issues that happen, and that can be very concerning where somebody who really wants to vote and they're not able to vote.
So would they even know it though? Or would their vote just be not counted because of the signature didn't
Well,
compare?
so like this page right here, that's the absentee ballot application. What's going to happen is that once they put their signature on there and their date of birth, if that doesn't match their voter registration, I won't be able to issue an absentee ballot.
Oh, so it's not like their vote is thrown out. They just don't get a ballot.
They don't get a ballot.
And they may not have time or ability to vote in another way. Ooh,
Right.
okay, I don't like that.
Right. That's why I'm glad you pointed that out. That is why that concerns me, and that law to me really is voter suppression, and that's voter suppression to older Americans, young Americans, Black Americans, white Americans. It's just voter suppression any way you put it, but we're going to work with the rules that we have. And that's one of the reasons why I'm out here trying to make sure that I tell people what's going on, and ways, and hopefully they can find ways to help themselves or help us help them as well.
And it's so interesting because you would think, well, what's the deal? It's just a signature. But when you look at how it plays out and what the unintended or maybe intended consequences of requiring that signature to match, and how that means, what that could mean for certain groups of people. That's just something that I would never have thought about had you not shared that. So interesting.
So would it be possible for them to fill out a voter registration and an application for the absentee ballot at the same time so that the signatures were done at the same time and send them both in?
Oh, Donna, go, yes. Yes.
She's smart.
Yes, they can definitely do that. That's one of the things that I've been asking folks to do is update their voter registration information. And so if they update their signature, even if their information is the same as it's been for the last 20 years, just write it there and update. So that way we have an updated signature, and that's how we can get around that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. That's how we can help the voter make sure the voter.
Right. We hear you.
Okay.
So
all right.
is there a form online that we can print out and do that, and mail it to you, or do we have to physically bring it to you?
So voter registration applications, I believe that we have a link to that on our website. And so you can certainly fill that out and send it back. This absentee ballot application is definitely on the website, and you can fill that out. I'm just trying to think. Usually that voter registration, because we don't have electronic voter registration in Arkansas, you definitely have to fill out a paper form and then send it in, whether you send it to the Secretary of State's office. We ask that you actually send it to us. It'll get processed just a little bit quicker, but yes.
And go ahead and tell me that website, and I'll put it on.
The website, of course, is the 3 W's, PulaskiClerk.com.
PulaskiClerk.com. Okay. I'll put it in the chat and on our website. Okay.
So
and Luther has a question real quick. I'm sorry,
Okay.
we got stalled out here.
No worries.
Is there a way we can see what our original signature looks like?
There's not a way that you can see what your original signature looks like, but there is a way that the voter staff can do that. So if you have any questions about it, you can certainly call our voter staff at 501-340-8336. I'll say that again. Of course, 501-340-8336. And the staff can certainly help you with that if you feel like that has changed.
And that's the staff in where?
The voter staff in the clerk's office.
Voter staff. Okay. I'll put that in the chat and on Facebook.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. This is interesting.
All right. So I just want to go over this absentee ballot application. part of the reason why we're going over is because we have folks who may not know how to fill it out. We've had lots of questions about it. And a lot of times we get where it says the date of birth, folks end up putting today's date. So just want to say that, like number one, it says, please select the reason why you're requesting an absentee ballot. In Arkansas, we've always had this reason that I will be unavoidably absent from the polling site on election day. So it's always been a reason for why you can vote by absentee. Number two is select from the following options concerning your residence. You say, I currently reside within the county to which I'm registered to vote, or I currently reside outside the county in which I'm registered to vote, which means that if you, I mean, you could be somebody, or you could have a grandchild at college, or you could be away working, you know, in another county and you just need your ballot. So that's why, you know, that's there. And of course, if you're a United States citizen and you're in the military, that's another reason for you to have an absentee ballot. Number three is please select the election in which you wish to cast an absentee ballot. You can check all of them, which is the primary election or the November general election or the annual school election or a special election, or you can just check one or two. So it just depends on which one you want. Number four says select how you wish to receive the ballot. This is where we need to make sure you put your mailing address in this particular section, the mailing address. So if that's a PO box, you need to put that there. And then down at the bottom, we've highlighted where it says residential address of absentee voter. Where is the actual address? So that makes sure that we got, you know, your right ballot and everything right there. And then your date of birth of the absentee voter, and then the signature is what's needed. So under Act 736, county clerks and other voting officials, we cannot send out absentee ballot applications unless the voter asks for it. We used to have a list of maybe about 1,500 people who just didn't really get out. And I actually kind of call it the sick and shut in list, as if like we did at church. That's what they would call it at church, is sick and shut in list, meaning they didn't get out and maybe services came to them. But what we have is just a reoccurring list of folks who were on there to receive an absentee ballot. And now we can't do that anymore. We have to have the voter call us and actually ask for an absentee ballot. So if you know someone who you think has been voting that way for years, and if they haven't called the clerk's office, please make sure that they call a clerk's office, because I am not able to just to blanketly send out that to those folks anymore. And of course, that happened before I got in the clerk's office. And then we continued the process up until now, where they changed the law. So Act 973, of course, requires absentee ballots that are submitted in person to be turned into the clerk's office the Friday before the election. It used to be the Monday before the election. So they've changed that. So that can be a little confusing to the voters. If you're going to turn it in person, you have to bring it the Friday before the election. And then, of course, if you're going to mail it, it still has to be into the clerk's office, you know, by election day. Any absentee voters in overseas and military, they certainly, they still have their 10 days after the election for the ballots to arrive as usual. But ballots being turned in by authorized agents, or maybe somebody at a nursing home or something like that, they still are the same. They can bring those in by election day. So just want to talk about provisional ballots real quickly. So provisional ballots has always been a way for people to be able to vote. It's basically a fail-safe mechanism for voters who arrive at the polls on election day and whose voting eligibility is certainly uncertain. The HAVA Act required that states offer these provisional ballots and whose names were not on the voter list. So it could be somebody who hasn't voted in 3 or 4 election cycles, and they're now on a what we call, they haven't been removed from the rolls, but they are on a list of non-eligible at this point in time because they haven't voted in 3 or 4 election cycles. So then they're able to use their provisional ballot, and then they can update their voter registration information, and we can also have them bring their ID back so that we can determine if that ballot will be actually voted. So these are some of the reasons why people vote by absentee ballot. Their name is not on the poll book or the registration. We can't determine their eligibility. Their identity has been challenged by a poll worker or maybe an elected official, election official. They don't have the identification as required, and then they requested maybe they requested an absentee ballot because the mail can be a little slow. They didn't actually get the ballot in time, and they decided to go in person. Those are some of the reasons why they might have a provisional ballot. So provisional ballots are counted when the voter submits their proof of identity to the clerk or to the County Board of Election Commissioners. Of course, that happens no later than the Monday following the election. All bets are off if it comes after, if it's that Tuesday after the election. The voter didn't cast the correct ballot for their residence, or the voter did cast the correct absentee ballot in the precinct. I can't read that. But so those are the reasons why they are counted. The voter did cast the correct absentee ballot, and then the precinct workers of the voter's residence. So redistricting, as you all know, happens every 10 years. Once we have the census, then redistricting happens all over the state. So of course, in March, they finished the redistricting for the county level, and they changed some of these JP districts. As you can see there, those are the JP districts on the map there. And so the County Board of Election Commissioners drew, of course, the 15 new quorum court districts and the data collected from the census. And then once they did that, then we made sure that you were in your right district, whether it was 11 or 13 or 8. And that's why we sent out these voter registration cards. I'm not sure if you can see that.
I got
But
mine.
that's what it looks like right there, voter registration card. It basically, the reason it'll say redistricting on it. It'll tell you the date we printed them, and then it'll tell you your JP or your state rep or your Senate district. And because Pulaski County has been divvied up into 3 different congressional districts, it'll tell you which congressional district you're in as well. And here are some dates to remember. So we are past the deadline for anybody to sign up to register to vote if they're going to participate in the May 24th election. Please know that you can always sign up to register to vote. So if you know folks that need to sign up, have them sign up. But if they're going to participate in the next election, they always need to be signed up 30 days before the actual election. So of course, May 9th, Monday, May 9th is when early voting begins. May 20th is the last day to transfer your voter registration from county to county. May 23rd is when early voting ends. And then May 24th is the actual election. Then on October 11th of this year is the last day to register to be eligible to vote in the November 8th election day. And then October 24th is when early voting begins. November 4th will be the last day to transfer your voter registration from county to county. And then November 7th is when early voting ends. And of course, the general election day is November 8th. This is the early voting notice. Of course, Monday, May 9th, you can see where you can go to the early voting sites, and it's going to be 8 to 6 on weekdays. There are going to be 2 Saturdays where folks can go and early vote from 10 to 4. And then on Monday, May 23rd, which is the last day of early voting, it's going to be 8 to 5 at the Pulaski County Regional Building. These are the 12 early voting sites, mostly libraries. That's why you got that 10 a.m. before 10 a.m. to, the library sites are definitely, they don't start to 10 a.m. I see that right there. That's why you had the 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. because if they're at libraries or maybe at a church. And again, election notice, all the different places where we have polling locations. So please stay connected with the clerk's office through Twitter, through Instagram, through Facebook, and of course the World Wide Web. And I gave you that www.pulaskiclerk.com. That's our website. Definitely, we always put out information what's going on in the clerk's office and as relates to voting. And I think that's it. And I'll stop sharing the screen and then we can, I can answer any other questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Leah. I'm just wondering, as you were talking, voter suppression, voter fraud, those have just become such, I mean, have you been more have you felt more under the spotlight or scrutiny or microscope than you thought you would be when you got in this position, or is this just is this why you ran?
This is one of the reasons why I ran, but I will have to say that as the first Black county clerk for Pulaski County, I've already felt under the microscope, as it were.
Well,
so this kind of stuff just really gives me angst, and I want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on so that they can be armed with information so that they could, because I think everybody should be able to vote to be able to participate in this democracy. And if you don't know this information, then you might miss out, or somebody might miss out. You know?
yeah, I had no idea about some of these changes in voter laws. I expected, I mean, it wasn't a surprise to change my, to get my new location of where to vote. That has happened before, but I didn't know about these laws. How do we compare to some other controversial southern states? I'm thinking of Georgia.
I think that we compare, well, I think that ours are certainly concerning, but maybe not as much as in some other states. I think Georgia had quite a bit. So, but of course, it's a national thing, that has happened all across the country. But certainly we want to make sure, that's why elections are important. That's why it's important to research the candidates that you are voting for. And that's why you want to vote for people who have the same values as you. So, and that's why everybody should want to participate in this democracy. We have over 230,000 registered voters in Pulaski County, and usually we have less than 100,000 people that actually go vote. We need more people to go vote.
Yeah, we do.
Well, and they've made it so much more difficult because state issued IDs now require everything but the blood of your firstborn child to get the information to them, and then the cost of that, just getting your birth certificate. If you don't have a copy of your birth certificate, just locating it and having to purchase it and get it to you, and having a residential bill. When my husband was alive, all the bills were in his name. My children live with me. Their names aren't on the bills. My name is on the bills. So just in all of those things that were the hoops that are being made to jump through, is just mind blowing to me. I was military, so I voted absentee. Military members have been voting absentee for decades with no question as to their legitimacy or the legitimacy of absentee ballots, and until recently. And my sister lives in Utah. The entire state of Utah votes absentee ballot. It's an automatic thing that they do there. There's not been a question about the legitimacy of any election in the state of Utah. And so I struggle to figure out what we can do to help those people who are already facing barriers to voting, and now they're facing barriers that are even much more significant. And what can we do to make sure people are registered, make sure people are able to get to the polls, or are able to get the absentee ballots that they need, because the reality is we need more people to actually vote. And I mean, I've had my name removed from the rolls for no reason other than I went in and voted one election cycle. The next election cycle, I went to the same place and my name was no longer on and at that time I wasn't aware of a provisional ballot, and nobody informs you of that when you show up and you don't have, your name is not on the roll. Nobody says to you, oh, by the way, you can do this. And so educating people, what can we do as individuals to educate people? The reason why so many feel that their vote doesn't count is because their vote has been discounted, or their ability to vote has been removed for so long.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. But as an individual, you can certainly point people to the Pulaski Clerk's website. You can have them call us. We'll be glad to present to your church group or your club or something like that, because we just want to do what we can to make sure we get this word out. We've of course tried to do a little snippets and maybe get some PSAs out, and maybe seeing some of that toward closer to the election. But definitely, this is the part that the clerk's office can do in terms of just trying to help educate people. But I cannot go and pick up people and take them to the polls. That's the part I wish I could do, but I can't do that.
I can do that. So if you know people that need to go to the poll.
Donna knows how to drive a shuttle, that's for sure. Janet has a question on Zoom. She asks, does the address on your photo ID have to match your voting address?
No.
Okay, good to know.
We would like it to, but no, that's not what they're checking for. They're actually checking that you are the person that they can see, and you're the person you say that you're voting. I mean, case in point, if you come there with your ID from UAMS or University or Pulaski Tech, your home address is not going to be on there, but your photo is going to be on there.
Mhm. Okay, I'm looking for your questions, people. What is oh, here we go. We have another question. Do we go to the Secretary of State's office to get a sample ballot before the election, or can we get it through the county clerk?
You can get it both places. So you can go to the Secretary of State's website. Actually, you can go to voterview.org. So voterview.org. And then you can put in your first name, last name, and date of birth, and it'll show you everything about where you're going to. You'll show your precinct, and then it'll show you your sample ballot.
Okay, I'm gonna put that in the chat.
And you can take that sample ballot with you to the polls to vote. You just cannot take any information that says vote for Terri Hollingsworth or vote for Leah Greenfield or something like that.
Right, so you're not influencing those that you're standing in line with. I got that point. A question from Facebook. You showed a picture of a voter ID card. Are they sending those out?
We sent out over 230,000 voter ID cards, so the good thing is we have those folks on the voter rolls. Now, if they came back, then we are in the process of trying to, see what we can do to reach those folks and at least make a notation on the voter rolls that it came back. But yes, we sent these out already.
So it could be in the mail, Anne.
So it possibly could be in the mail. If you don't see something in the next week, please call the voter department 340-8336, and we'll get that out to you.
That's the same number I posted on Zoom and Facebook, but yeah, I know we sent a bulk mail from LifeQuest not too long ago, and like 3 weeks after the events, people said they got it. So it was sometimes the mail in bulk mail is particularly, it's weird. Some zip codes get it and some don't. I'm trying to remember, Terri, when my kids were in the last presidential election, both of them wanted to vote. I was very excited that my teenage college students cared and were interested. They wanted to vote for both of them. It was because of the way their ages fell. It was their first presidential election, but because they're in college, they did absentee voting. They did get some kind of notification that their vote was received or that their vote was counted. They got some kind of confirmation about that.
Really?
No,
I'm not sure what that is. They might have gotten it. I'm not sure what. So when the ballots come to the clerk's office, we of course log them in, and then they are held in a safe place in terms of under lock and key. Then the election commission comes over. We do about 3 or 4 different deposits each day, and the election commission gets them. So the election commission is who ends up with the ballots, and they're the ones that end up using election workers to put that ballot to go through the machine and that kind of thing, and determine whether somebody's eligible or not. Okay. That's not the clerk's office.
Okay. Well, and I'm not being very clear because I can't exactly remember what they what it was that they received, but we're like, did their vote count? Did their vote count? Because you never really know with mail, and
yeah. Well, if they if they followed all the directions, put their ID within that particular absentee ballot packet and then their vote, there shouldn't even be a question about where they're counted. Now the question is what you're saying, if the mail got there in time or something like that.
Right, yeah. No, they had me standing over them, and we actually went down to a table that you had downtown. Because I saw you there, and my daughter was like, hey, I know her from Central. So we have another question. How close to the election can you change your address?
So if you're moving from county to county, May 20th is the last day you can do that.
Okay.
But you can change your address now as a voter, but you're probably, let's see, if you change it now, then you should get the right ballot. The question would be if you're trying to do it by absentee. But yes, you should get the right ballot when you go to the polls if you change it now.
Yeah, and that I just am really thinking more about that absentee. And every time you make a change, every time you add a layer of rules and complexity, you leave more people out.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
why
Which is
wouldn't we
exactly
want-
the intention of all of those laws. Is to
I know, but
suppress
why
vote.
wouldn't we want to make? I mean, don't both sides want everybody to vote? I mean, for them, but I mean, I just don't get it. I don't.
You would think.
Because
Maybe I'm really naive here, but I
Um,
would think that everybody would want everybody to vote. You want
historically
vote for your team.
speaking, the more people who vote in an election tends to favor one party over the other. So that's historically speaking. So
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I knew that, but still. And
You said what I can't say.
I know. She'll say it. She'll say it. Anne asks, I received a postcard with all my info, but not that card, not the one you're showing. Take a picture of it, Anne, and send it.
Yeah, what kind of info she's talking about? Because
If you've got it with you, Anne, send it, take a picture of it and send it to me. That would be interesting.
because the voter card, it should be kind of where you can actually, it's a preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so like this one has, this is my son's, and it has the address, it has his voter ID, it has the precinct, where we vote, the school zone, and the reason, and the date it was printed. And of course, then on one side, it has the address where, you know, where it had to come.
Yeah,
So
I've got all of ours stuck on our bulletin board by the front door because I don't know where to put them because everybody lives in a
I
different
keep mine in my fireproof box
state.
oh, I like it. The fireproof
with
box.
all of them, with my passport and all of the my marriage license and my husband's death certificate, all of that. The voter registration cards go in that same box.
Oh, that's great. That's a great way to keep that. You do not have to take this card to the polls
Right.
to vote. You just need your ID when you go and vote. So if she's still looking for it, again, call our office and we can make sure she gets her card. I'm not sure what she received with all the information on it and then it wasn't the voter card.
Well, maybe she can follow up with you or your
Okay.
office about that.
Definitely can follow up.
Well, we should have titled.
Got a quick comment here. Maybe she's confused because we keep talking about a voter card. And these days it's more piece of, well, it's more than just a piece of paper, but it's not a card anymore. Not
Right.
a plasticized card.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. It's this flimsy postcard thing that came in the mail that you could actually, you could actually, you know, kind of tear it and then that becomes the card part.
Yeah.
Yes, you're exactly right. Thank you for saying that.
Lena, thank you.
You are welcome.
Well, we should have called today, ask your county clerk, because we've just peppered you with questions. And
This is wonderful. I don't have any problems. Ask away. Let's do
well,
it.
you're able to answer all of them. So I think, oh yeah, and responded, yes, that is what she received. So thank you,
Okay,
Rena,
very
that
good.
clarified that. Appreciate it. See how we can crowdsource this on different platforms. We've got Zoomers and people at home and different in their offices and Facebookers working together. So we got that answered.
I like it. I
think
even had a
we're-
mail person say, why did you put all these flimsy little pieces of paper in the, I said, hey, we were working with the printer. I'm sorry. that it was flimsy.
because they don't weigh as much and you don't have to pay for as much for them. I get it.
Well, also, like they're experiencing the same thing we're experiencing, Leah, with many of the printers are experiencing shortage with access to certain papers they've used in the past. And I mean, we've had to change some of what we've printed and sent out as well because of lack of
Some
resources.
Supply chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
So,
is. It's
The clerk's office spent about $60,000 total sending out over 230,000 registration cards. Because we had to pay the printer, of course, that was about, I think maybe 16,000. The rest was actually postage and, paper and stuff.
I believe it. I mean, people are just, we were shocked too, but even to print and mail our class brochures, the paper cost has gone up. What was it? 10%? I can't remember now, between 6 and 8% for us. So, I mean, it's everything, supply chain affects everything, toner, I mean, it's everything. So, well, but it's important and we appreciate the information. I think we're about out of time. I just appreciate you for being available for us to meet you, to get to know you. I feel like we've gotten great information in front of our members. This is a recorded piece for the rest of the spring term. It's on our public Facebook page. And so but viewers, feel free to go to the Life Quest of Arkansas Facebook page, share it with friends, family and neighbors, because our guest speaker hour are intended to be free and open to the public. So it doesn't not have to just be folks that attend Life Quest right now. So we just want to say thank you again.
Well, thank you so much.
much.
Thank you. I just want to say, if you're going to vote in person, make sure you take your ID. Make sure you understand that the poll worker is asking which ballot do you want, especially for this primary. They are not asking you if you are a Democrat or a Republican. They're asking you in which primary do you want to vote in. Don't wear any campaign clothing. Don't take any campaign material inside. You can definitely take your sample ballot and how you've marked it. You can always ask for any help that you need or take somebody in if you need some help. So just want to make sure that you go vote on May 24th.
All right. Everybody vote May 24th. Okay, thank you,
All right.
Ms. Hollingsworth, for
All
being
right,
with us
thank
today.
you. Bye-bye.
Very much enjoyed it. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. You guys are great.
Thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.